Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arden Kochen, and today we are going to be talking about hookup culture. I'm here with two lovely college students whom I will be interviewing today about the subject matter and their personal experiences. So next to me I have Sarah Morse, a senior at Keene State University, and Hannah Rummel, a senior at UMass Amherst. Both of these girls are single and have been immersed in hookup culture. How are you guys doing today?
Well, thank you.
I'm good.
Great, so specifically within the topic of hookup culture, we are going to be talking about some of the negative psychological effects of hookup culture on women, including things such as lowering one's self-esteem and producing feelings of regret. Before I dive into the outcomes and interviews, I think it's important to first describe what hookup culture really is. So in today's society, more than 90% of students claim that their college campus is characterized by hookup culture, according to Wade 2017. Donna Freitas defines hookup culture in her book, The End of Sex, as a culture that accepts and encourages casual sex encounters, including one-night stands and other related activity, without necessarily including emotional intimacy, bonding, or a committed relationship. However, the definition of what hooking up looks like is arguable because it can mean different things to different people. For example, some people may view hooking up as kissing, while others view it as penile vaginal intercourse. However it is defined, people engaged in hookups for reasons such as sexual pleasure, societal pressures, or hope for it to develop into an emotional relationship. The rise of hookup culture can be attributed to many changes that have occurred in the last 50 years or so. On the physiological side, the onset of puberty is occurring in younger and younger people. Sociologically speaking, there has been a steady increase in the age of first marriage. Unfortunately, research has shown that hooking up can produce a real threat to an individual's psychological health, such as lowering one's self-esteem. In a study conducted by Elizabeth Paul in 2000, investigating the relationship between hookups and self-esteem, both men and women who had previously engaged in uncommitted sexual behavior had notably lower self-esteem scores when compared with people without such sexual encounters. Along with the degradation of one's self-esteem, it is common for people to experience feelings of regret and guilt following a hookup. Eschbald and Gut conducted a study in 2008 and found that roughly 75% of sexually active college students admit feelings of regret over past sexual experiences. I'd love to ask my interviewers, Hannah and Sarah, about their typical feelings after hooking up with someone. Hannah, do you want to start?
Sure. I guess after I hook up with somebody that I don't see anything further going with, it depends. Like if I was drunk doing it, I usually regret it, just because it's like not something I would have done sober, so that's usually how I feel if I'm sober hooking up with somebody that I'm not gonna date. Then it's just fun and casual, and it doesn't usually hurt my self-esteem.
All right, great. Sarah, how do you feel after a typical hookup?
It's definitely not like black and white. Like you can't just be like, oh, I feel. Can I curse?
Yeah.
I don't always feel like shit after I hook up with someone. It really depends on the person, depends on the situation.
All right, nice. Thank you, guys. Sexual double standard is a big reason why women may feel more regret than men. The sexual double standard encourages male sexuality while shaming women for equivalent behavior. Women are brought down for casual sex while men are praised for it. A woman's social status tends to decrease with the more sexual partners she has, while a man seems to be the complete opposite. When a woman has sex with numerous partners, she is often shamed by being identified as a slut or a whore. Being labeled like this often causes women to hide their sexuality in order to avoid receiving a bad reputation. Women may also feel regret if they had hoped that it would lead to more of a relationship. It used to be that men would ask women on dates and have hope that sex may happen sometime while in a relationship. But now the sexual norm has reversed. College-age people tend to have sex first, then possibly go on a date one day. Ryber and Garcia found that hookups have increased and dating has significantly decreased. With this being said, it is likely that women may feel as though hooking up is the only way to possibly connect with a boy that they are interested in. They may think that hooking up is the first step to an emotional relationship. These differing wants and expectations between partners can lead to disappointment and regret. So I would love to hear my interviewees' opinions on this and maybe some personal experience to see if it applies to any of their previous hookups. Hannah, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree that women hook up with people more often because they think that something will come of it, especially if it's like that one person that you're like, maybe you're in the same friend group and you enjoy, like, you hook up with them because you think eventually that they'll date you, but that isn't necessarily the case, and that's kind of when you feel crappy the next morning and like regret it because you know they're not going to date you.
True. Sarah,
yeah, going off of that, I think that in the back of your head, you know that hooking up with them isn't going to make them closer to you emotionally at all. But, like, you like that attention from them, and you want, like, to, you know, obviously be around them. So it makes you feel better in the moment. And then once you take a step back and you're like, okay, well, now I kind of maybe feel a bit used. Overall,
Yeah, I think that's very true and relatable for a lot of other college-age women. So another reason why women may feel regret after hookup is because they have felt pressured to go further than they were comfortable with. In a study conducted by Reiber and Garcia, researchers found that almost 80% of people overestimated the other person's comfort while hooking up. In particular, men were the ones who were likely to overestimate women's actual comfort levels. All right, so Hannah and Sarah, so this is the final thing I want to ask you ladies today. Have either of you been in a situation where you felt pressured to hook up with someone or go farther than you were comfortable with? And if so, why did you feel the need to go through with it?
I've definitely been in a situation where I don't want to go further with somebody, but I haven't been in a situation where I go through with it because I feel like how they are going to feel about it will affect me. Like, I've always like had that boundary and like stuck with it. But I know that there's a lot of people that end up in situations where they don't feel comfortable and they don't want to continue, but they do. And that's because maybe they actually do like that person. They think they're going to jeopardize like a relationship they could develop with them, or, you know, they're called a prude. A lot of people are afraid of that. So that's kind of where I stand with it.
Me personally, I couldn't really think of like specific examples of me feeling pressured, but I know like a lot of my friends have had that situation, as well as like being drunk is such a big factor in like whether you hook up with someone or not, which is like not the healthiest.
Thank you guys for sharing that and for being so open with me today. It was so great to hear from some real college students on the subject matter. So to kind of wrap it up here today, hookups provide the draw of sex without having strings attached. However, research suggests that hookups can leave more of a mark than people may initially assume. Hookups can lead to a variety of negative psychological consequences, such as lowering one's self-esteem, feelings of regret, and unrealistic expectations. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you to Hannah and Sarah for joining me today. I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of the day and stays safe out there.